Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Irgi Wahyu Kaliska, and today I'm going to talk about the 70-year journey of hard disk drive. So, what is a hard disk drive? A hard disk drive is a data storage device that uses magnetism and spinning disks to store and retrieve digital information. So, what problem does the hard disk drive solve? So, hard disk drive solve the need for high-speed random access. This means random access means that you have the ability to jump into a specific part of the data. So you don't need to go through from the start until the finish to find a specific data that you need. And this is faster than punch card and magnetic tapes, which is the traditional data storage device, but they don't have the random access ability. It is also designed for real-time business data because it is faster and have the ability of random access. In 1956, it was the birth of the first hard disk drive. So, IBM, which also known as International Business Machines, introduced the RAMAC 305 system. So, RAMAC here stands for Random Access Method of Accounting and Control. And this machine had a starting storage capacity of approximately 3.75 to 5 megabytes. This machine used a 50 24-inch disc and is also the size of two refrigerators. So even though this machine is very large, the storage capacity is really small compared to what we have today. Also, the IBM 305 RAMAC was leased for around $3,200 per month in 1956. So this machine was leased for a very expensive price back in the day. And why did it matter? So the IBM 305 RAMAC mattered so much because it was the first ever practical random access storage. This machine was used by large corporation and the US Navy. So because it was leased for a very expensive price, which is $3,200, the only people that could afford that kind of price back in the day was only like large corporation and the military. Also, the IBM 205 Ramex was became the foundation for modern storage that we use today. Next is the miniaturization, which is from 1973 to 1983. So in 1973, the IBM introduced another design, which is the Winchester design. In this design, the read head and the disk were sealed together. So the read head is much closer to the disk than previous design. This resulted into a more stable head flying and led to a higher density of data. So because the read head is closer to the disk, it can read a much more uh, magnetic bits, and this leads to a higher capacity of storage. And the disk also shrink from the first, which is 24-inch, to 5.25-inch in 1980. And shortly after that, after 3 years in 1983, it shrank even more to 3.5-inch. Next is the PC's boom. So hard disk drive became the standard in personal computers because personal computers need a device to store all of the data that it was used. So they use a hard disk drive. And IDE and SCSI made the installation easy. So this was the connector to connect the personal computers to the hard disk drive. Usually, a lot of people use the IDE cable, but if large corporation needs a higher connectivity and faster connection, they're gonna use the SCSI cable. And because of this PC's boom, the hard disk drive turns into a mass market product because each personal computer gonna need a hard disk drive. Next, I want to talk about a giant about the giant magnetoresistant. So in 1997, the giant magnetoresistant read head was introduced. And this read head can read a very tiny magnetic bits. So this read head is very sensitive to magnetic bits. So they can store the magnetic bits really small, and this leads to a higher capacity of the hard disk drive. And this enables from usually hard disk drive only can store from gigabytes of data, it can store to terabytes of data. Next is the modern hard disk drive era, which is the year 2000 until the present, which is right now. So as of right now, hard disk drive is no longer the fastest. It is SSD, which is solid state drive, but it is still the cheapest because a lot of people are going to need a faster data. So a lot of people going to choose the solid state drive because has a faster connectivity and faster storing, faster for retrieving data. And because of this, the industry consolidate. So there's only three major industry that still produces hard disk drive, which is Seagate, Western Digital, and Toshiba. But because of SSD is 4 to 5 times more expensive per terabyte compared to hard disk drive, usually data centers and corporation that needs to store a lot of data, they're going to use a hard disk drive rather than using a solid state drive. Because if they want to use a solid state drive, it's going to be really expensive and they're going to save a lot of money. So rather than doing that, they're going to use a hard disk drive, which is still cheaper, but they can still store a lot of data. And thank you. You can ask the question in the comments. Thank you for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.